20 years ago, I knew that transgenders was going to be a thing. Show me one person that ever wore a dress in Hollywood unsuccessfully. No people built the pyramid.
No people?
No.
Who built them?
Joe.
That's crazy.
If you
500 miles away, some of them.
Even if you could do it, let me ask you this. Would you build it on sand? What do you mean the immigrants are getting a check and we're putting them up in places that what? You mean in the homeless people's face?
Joe Rogan just released his Katt Williams interview, which comes on the heels of Katt Williams' viral interview with Shannon Sharpe. And in that interview, he not only mentioned all this stuff about Hollywood, secret societies, weird stuff going on, but he also said that Joe Rogan is not a fan of him. And now he's on Joe Rogan's show. So here are the best moments from this 3-hour interview where Katt Williams really impresses Joe Rogan.
You don't care how people feel about the ritual. It's about does following the ritual work. Yeah. And so you can fool yourself into thinking there isn't one, but the evidence will be clear. So like when I be like, oh, these guys are wearing dresses. Everybody's like, oh, he keeps talking about people wearing dresses. No, it's not.
That is a weird thing.
It's not like that. Look at it from a different way. Look at it. Show me one person that ever wore a dress in Hollywood unsuccessfully. That's how you understand what a ritual is. So 20 years ago, I knew that transgenders was going to be a thing. It wasn't because I was a prophet. It's just I had gotten so much information that I understood that things are secular. So I understood that the earliest I had seen that word transgender was Baphomet, the transgender. And so I knew that in the ritual of Baphomet, the transgender, to show allegiance to him, you had to kiss his ass ring.
Really?
And it said both of those things. So I knew that both of those things would become popular in the future. And that somehow calling people the goat would be normalized over the sheep being always the most popular reference.
God damn, we got some good weed, Cat. Jesus Christ.
This must be the weed talk.
I'm trying to figure out how to jump in on that.
Right. Which is my only goal.
I always wonder whether or not all the stories in the Bible, it's just where we are experiencing it. Like the mark of the beast thing that we were talking about earlier. If that is not, I think if you had to tell a story for so many years,
yeah,
before anybody ever even figured out how to write it down, and you're telling a story about a civilization that allowed people to put brain implants in them, and then all of a sudden the brain implants were hijacked by machines, and people became just meat zombies, controlled by corporations. That would be the mark of the beast. That would be a demonic thing. If a demon tricked human beings into wearing a hat that turned you into a zombie, that demon would be like a famous character in books and folklore. But that demon exists, and it's just technology. It just shows itself through this desire for the newest, latest innovations that are going to constantly fuel it becoming more and more powerful. Until one day it tricks you into letting it into its head, like a vampire. Like the vampire stories, you had to let them in, remember? Imagine going to a World Economic Forum party. What did those freaks do when all the listening devices have been scanned out of the room? All their phones have been put into bags and locked away in a lead vault? What do those freaks do? Because you know it's not normal shit. You know everybody's buttoned down like that and wants to control the world. There's something involved that's outlandish that they keep a secret. That's always been the case with secret societies. I mean, that's the whole eyes wide shut thing. That there's some freak shit going on behind the scenes to anybody that really wants to control everything. You don't just want to control everything. You want to control everything so you can get away with some freak shit too.
Right, I'm saying, but these Epstein-like characters have existed throughout history, whether they were kings or what. Like human beings are human beings universally. So everybody is a supplier. Epstein, Weinstein, like these guys knew what these extremists liked and provided it, and provided the way for you to to have $1 billion and not create a fantasy island type environment has not existed throughout history.
Right. We did this thing when we played a video of how small the Earth is in comparison to the sun, how small the sun is in comparison to giant stars, and how small giant stars are into the most massive, supermassive black hole that they know currently. It's bananas.
Our perfect habitat is so perfect that anyone universally with sense would say, "Whew, location." You know.
Like the greatest real estate agent ever.
If the moon or the sun were further back, we'd
be fucked.
Yeah, or
or
closer, or like
yeah.
The whole thing is, someone later saying, "Do you think Beverly Hills was? You think this was an area they built on purpose?" Yeah, it was. Oh, don't let me.
Oh, just imagine if the moon was slightly smaller. Just imagine.
Look,
imagine if the Earth was slightly further away from the sun.
They know that it's to the point where some of it might have been artificially done, and they're aware of that. They're aware of the true.
So the
specifics of the moon
solar system. Oh, the moon.
Right.
I've heard that theory. That's a wild theory.
Well, some of it's not theory. Like I was on that subject as a teenager, but as a grown person is when the thing happened where they hit it with the missile and it rang like a bell.
Yeah.
Like certain things are.
What was the explanation for that? Because it did have some sort of a crazy
The question is, who will offer an explanation?
Right.
Because it wasn't like that. They didn't just do it once. Like all accounts say, it rang like a bell for hours and hours and hours.
Imagine if that's a feature for a stable planet that they put there.
Well, that's how Xbox works.
Really?
Or PlayStation. I'm an Xbox guy, but I'm saying, you have your gaming system, and it just requires that and your Wi-Fi nearby, and bam,
right.
make things happen. And so many of our things globally, we come by understanding that, and the magnetics and dynamics and things that really work. Like this necklace, right?
Right.
People online were like, "Yeah, is that Buddhist or that's this or that?" It's none of that. Like I just try to find the answers to things. So
Is that a ship wheel?
I designed this because this is that thing that you see that all the Anunnaki guys that look like a wristwatch, and they always have it, and you're always trying to see what that is.
Yeah, what is that?
It is a time, and it's a compass. It's a time-keeping compass.
That's what that is?
Yeah. So that's what made the carrier of great importance. because he was able to do things that were magical in nature, like go somewhere and get right back. Like, you know what I mean?
So, yeah,
like
that thing on the wrist was a compass?
a timekeeping
Compass.
Yeah. Right. So you had to believe in things that didn't exist at some point, like magnetics and distance and
Right.
probabilities and
Right.
right. That's how, like, if you were to read like thousands of books about people that knew a bunch of shit, like you start finding out that it's not really about knowing anything. It's about where to go to get the information. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like when we look at all the ruins all around the world, like we're not seeing ruins of colleges and universities and all of that. We're seeing temples and synagogues and churches, but people don't understand that that's where that information was coming from for that period of time. When we went to these temples, they weren't in there singing and reading from a book. They were in there being taught things that they were able to go put into practice. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like they were being taught agriculture. You know what I mean? Like they were being taught.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they had some very bizarre knowledge too. They had a detailed knowledge of cosmology. They had a really detailed knowledge of our solar system.
100% of the writings across the world, whoever said anything about space or the universe or what was out there, why were all of them correct, Joe? It's not even possible. Like, how did they know that Mars was the red planet, and why was it a worldwide fact?
Right.
Planetarily, that Saturn had rings, like, based upon what information? Because nobody worldwide is disagreeing. Nobody's like, oh, I thought of this, or it came to me in a dream. Nobody's saying that anywhere in anybody's civilization. Everybody's civilization says this information came from the people that came from there.
Yeah.
There are no coincidences.
Well, they know that Mars used to have an atmosphere. Mars used to have an atmosphere, used to have water. Something happened to its environment.
If that's correct, then there's a guy right now saying he's getting ready to put people up there.
Yep. Exactly.
You see?
Restart it all over again.
50 years ago, there was no water in our whole universe. Let them tell it.
All right, mini break time with some recaps and some heads up on what's coming forward. If you don't want to hear what I have to say, just skip forward to the next parts of the clips. But what's coming up is Katt's going to talk about the water and the fluoride with the government, why they put the fluoride in the water, the real reason, the detriment it causes. He's going to talk about the black people not mentioned in the Bible according to him. And he's going to go more in detail about his theory on how the pyramids were made. Now, we just went over some controversial stuff. If you guys want to see the full video, it's going to be linked in the description, the full 3 hours. But who wants to listen to a 3-hour video? I don't. But I did kind of for you guys to put these clips together. So Katt already went over some more serious stuff. Like he talked about the transgenderism that he already knew was going on with Baphomet. Now that's an insight into different rituals that probably happen in Hollywood where you have to give up your morals and do this thing and pledge allegiance to this thing that's so egregious so that they know they own you. They can get you to bend your morals, especially to such a bad degree where it's this goat-headed Baphomet figure that's a transgender and you'll kiss the ass of a statue and then they can get you to do other things with other people. It makes a lot of sense, especially how doing that sexual act has become more popular. Saying the term the goat has become a popular, positive term. And yet, so many satanic things I've seen, just the little bit I've seen, has a goat head associated with it. That idol has a goat head. So it's pretty interesting that Katt's actually bringing that up and that it correlates to other things we've seen in society. I'm gonna have more comments after the rest of the clips, but now let's get into what Katt says about the black people being purposely left out of the Bible.
I don't know how you could be a Christian and not believe in extraterrestrials. It's in your book. It says there was a war in heaven and God was fighting Satan and threw him down here. This is taking place. So
Also, when you get to the Old Testament, Ezekiel's story. Ezekiel's story is essentially about a UFO encounter.
I was really frustrated as a black person that we weren't included more in the Bible, right? And so I felt very good when I found that some of the books of the Bible that were banned because they had black guys in them.
Really? What books of the Bible? This is the New Testament? Is this when they were
You've heard the book.
Constantine?
You've heard about the Book of Enoch, right?
Yes.
Right. So, if you know that book, it says that Noah was an albino.
I always wondered about like Noah's age. They talked about him being hundreds of years old.
And
people
it
thought that was
tells
ridiculous.
everybody's story.
Yeah.
And,
But here's my thought. If human beings were at one point in time more technologically advanced than we are now, which is possible, we are on the verge of taking human life and expanding it way beyond 100 years. We're like real close to that. The people that are alive today will live to be 150.
I'm not qualified to be having any of this conversation.
I'm barely qualified because I've talked to a lot of qualified people.
Disclaimer, but understand, we know more now. Like we know that the earth is not spinning now the same way that it once was. We know that.
Yet slightly different. Measurably different, right?
I'm saying the interesting thing is in all of those stories that we're talking about, it never says that they did anything different that got them to be in that position. It just says that they were blessed by God. So
yeah,
now,
they were there.
This is at a time when people were dying of some things that today we would call pretty easy.
Yeah.
But it was wiping out whole groups of people. So there are those of us that know with the pineal gland what medicine says it's for and what that would mean. And so those people's job is to make sure that there's fluoride in all the water. So your pineal gland will shrivel.
Get calcified or whatever happens to it.
That's all.
The fluoride thing is wild. The fact that people aren't up in arms about them putting fluoride in your fucking drinking water is so crazy. It's so unnecessary.
It's brilliant on the other end, though.
Oh, yeah.
So what happened is the reason people have that relationship is they cleaned up the water the same time that they did that. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So people at that time just remember the water not being that great. And then all of a sudden the water is really great and it's got fluoride and it's good for your
teeth.
Right.
Despite the fact that there's direct correlations between high levels of fluoride in drinking water and low IQs. They think it lowers people's IQs. They think it's terrible for you. Fluoride's dangerous. You're not supposed to swallow toothpaste.
Look, whatever you're saying, people won't find out about that for 100 years, and I'm not even going to be 100. And most of these decisions are made like that.
Yeah. Well, most people are terribly unaware of the fluoride thing. When you bring it up, they always say it's good for your teeth. Like, don't you brush your fucking teeth? Like, why do you need fluoride? Why do you need fluoride in your water? Are you sure that's why your teeth aren't falling out?
It's the fact that people don't understand that it's a toxic thing that you can't buy or purchase or handle.
It's in your drinking water. And it's not doing you any good other than supposedly it's good for your teeth.
Well, even if it was.
Yeah, even if it was. At what cost?
Even if it was great for your teeth and your bones, you drinking it wouldn't be the way you'd be trying to get that.
No.
But
I don't even use fluoride toothpaste.
I'm not going to let you take me where this conversation is going.
Where's it going?
Now that we went to fluoride, like, I'm
Where's
going
it
to have
going?
to cut no further than that, because once you start having what they'll do, like, yeah. You understand everything's a campaign, and that's how you can approach everything, is find out
who's making money off this.
Where's the profit? How does this make sense? Why? Yeah.
Somewhere right now, the fluoride plants are going, what the fuck are they talking about? Somebody just introduced legislation to try to remove fluoride from some state from drinking water. Some people are waking up to it. They're realizing, like, this is so unnecessary and obviously not good.
Well, just understand that there are far too many places that don't have clean waters.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, like
Flint, Michigan. Still that water's fucked up. There's what about that place in Ohio
hold on. And why? Because nobody wants it to be their fault. So nobody will take, like,
right.
You understand how?
Well, even the government. There's plenty of money for Ukraine.
Not even.
Yeah.
Like,
exactly.
how are we allowed to have a foreign policy when we are violating the policies here?
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Like what do you mean the immigrants are getting a check and we're putting them up in places that what? You mean in the homeless people's face?
Right in the homeless people's faces.
Like,
right?
Let us show you what we could have done.
Right.
Wow.
Crazy.
That's not okay as a society.
No. They think that the people who built the pyramids built them way earlier than the conventional dating is. They think there's real evidence that shows they're 9,000, 11,000 years old. Easy.
No people built the pyramids.
No people?
No.
Who built them?
No people built the pyramids. And if you look around the world, you see certain telltale things that let you know that advanced machinery was in usage. Look, this whole thing where slaves are stronger people is a fallacy. We like to believe that slaves are stronger. Slaves are weaker because they don't eat the right food and they live a terrible life. Your slave population is not smarter and better condition unless you're enslaving the Jews.
They stopped thinking that quite a while ago. They think it was actually skilled labor because of the way they were eating. They found what their camps were, where their food was. They ate like very good food. So they think they were actually skilled labor, but also probably forced skilled labor. But that's probably not the people who built it. That's probably the people that were working on it. That's probably the people that worked in the village or in the city.
How many companies have done renovations on the White House? None of them have done enough renovation that they can claim it's their White House. So, yes, thousands of years worth of people were there. But that doesn't have anything to do with the building of it.
Who do you think built it?
Well, understand, we know enough now to understand that this was a complex. This was not...
right.
we've been led to believe that this is how much they worshipped their dead bodies.
Right.
But the evidence doesn't show any of that.
No, it doesn't.
Like when you see inside when they have those intricate carvings and paintings and stuff in gold and stuff, you have to remember this is in a windowless room, folks. There's no candle soot. There's no this. It's clearly a power plant and built specifically for that location on this planet. For
What do you think it was powered
usage.
by?
The hot water springs underneath it.
So it was powered by the hot water springs? And to what end? How do you know all this, first of all? Is this marijuana talk?
I don't think so. This is
Where did you read this?
if you follow information about humankind, you find out that in all parts of history, people were coming to this region for their information and their knowledge and their things
Yes.
that were forbidden, and
Yep.
these were not these were the highest of human civilization here.
Not even comparable to anyone else.
No.
Nor since. Nor
now
since.
or yeah,
Nor since.
right.
The
And-
Great Pyramid of Giza is insane.
right. Like
If you figured out how the fuck they did it, if there was any logical explanation that people could have done it, I would be on board. I'd be like, well, okay.
but there aren't any people saying that.
Human beings it's possible if you had enough power and you had enough engineering and mathematics that you could figure out how to design and construct the pyramid.
Yes.
But then the logistical problem of getting the stones from hundreds of miles away, massive, several ton, up to 80-ton stones.
Joe,
That's crazy.
if you
500
even-
miles away, some of them.
even if you could do it, let me ask you this: would you build it on sand?
I don't think it was originally sand. See, that's the thing.
Right. This was a fertile
Yeah.
valley.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Right.
The
That's-
Nile Valley.
That
was the reason
they
why
had
they chose it.
electric and Wi-Fi, and they had all of that.
They probably did. And that's probably where the Younger Dryas impact theory comes in.
The greatest trick is to make us believe that people back then were dumber and we're
Right.
smarter.
Right.
And that whole thing is a fallacy.
Yeah, that's
And
definitely not real.
But it's worth it for us to believe that.
I think we are the children of the survivors of some great catastrophe. And I think that's why every single
Not
ancient
everybody.
biblical scholar. What?
Not everybody. Some people
What do you mean?
are that.
Some people are the survivors?
Right.
Well, I mean, most human beings probably got wiped out in comet storms. And I think we probably got, look, there's been points in history that they know of where human beings got down to like 7,000 people.
Who's counting them?
I think they use genetics and they backtrace and they try to find individuals that were capable of having X amount of children. I wonder how they do the calculations. It's a good question.
The things in
I'm
Hollywood
just guessing, honestly.
and in writing that have attracted our attention worldwide were all based on some truth. So all the stories of hobbits have been successful in all of their genres. Why? Because they existed. Like we now know that there were whole pygmy groups, and that we understand that that's what the Seven Dwarves was.
Yeah. Like that island of Flores, man, that they found. They literally call it a hobbit. It was like a 3-foot-tall person that was covered in hair, smaller head than us, used tools.
As a preteen, I knew that Atlantis really existed, just because of how it was spoken of offhandedly
Mm-hmm. Just that it was
in
known to
early
exist.
writings.
Yeah.
Well, not just mentioned, but mentioned offhandedly, like you would a place that's just a landmark.
Right. We landed in New York before we went to Montreal. Yeah.
We were in Austin,
Yeah.
by Dallas.
Right. Exactly.
All right. So I think Joe Rogan enjoyed this because it was deep, it was controversial, it was, taboo topics. And Joe Rogan showed his widespread knowledge. And he wanted to have Katt on the show because Katt brings up these things that are going to get him viewership. But Katt didn't seem that entertaining as he was in the Shannon Sharp interview. When he was on that Shannon Sharp interview, he was like coming at people. He had stuff in his head that he was going to bring up because he wanted to clear the air. And maybe he wanted to get a lot of traction and attention for his upcoming, which is currently happening right now, comedy tour. But in this one, I'm going to guess that Joe Rogan might be disappointed in Katt Williams' presence and manner because he was chill, relaxed, quieter. He was smoking, they were chilled out. Maybe he liked that, but as a viewer, it definitely was not as entertaining as the Shannon Sharp interview. I think it was a lot more in-depth about Joe Rogan-y type topics that a lot of us are interested in, but it doesn't even compare. I'm gonna imagine it's gonna get like a third, or maybe if it's good, half the views of the Shannon Sharp interview. I don't think it'll do that much. You guys can let me know in the comments what you think, how well entertained you were by the interview or even these clips compared to the Shannon Sharp interview that Katt did. But he gave a lot of stuff to think about, especially with the transgender thing and the Baphomet. That was, if he saw that stuff going on in Hollywood 20 years ago, just confirms a lot of suspicions that so many of us have. But yeah, let me know what you thought about this interview versus the other one. If you guys want to subscribe, feel free. I'm out of here.